Go. All right. Lay on the floor if you'd like. Sit in a chair, either an easy chair that you can still remain somewhat upright in, or sit in a chair that's not so comfortable and just sit forward with your spine straight. Whatever, take a posture that you can stay in without a lot of difficulty for the next 15 minutes. We'll ring the bell. Take a deep breath with each bell. In and out. And now, as you listen to the bell continue to sound, growing quieter, just continue following your breath, putting your attention, feeling your lungs fill with air, your belly rise to draw that air in, your belly falls as you breathe out. You feel the air leaving your lungs, and you feel the air that's been warmed from being in your lungs leaving your nostrils. And you breathe in again, breathing in as your belly rises, and breathing out as your belly falls. In and out. Well, we're just coming off of 2 days of some pretty incredible northern lights here. And they've even been so far south as Florida. Some people that never got to see them are seeing them. And I've been thinking of how that's just one of many things that's just miraculous about this world and this life. Things that we get to see. Curtains of light, of reds, greens and purples and yellows. So they're waving among the stars. I could sit and watch that for hours. Once up north, I sat on the end of a dock and watched the northern lights in August while I forget what the display of meteors is in August, but the stars were falling through the northern lights. It was like nothing I'd ever seen. And there was one other time that I was reminded of when I was really struggling with some things in life. And I did as many of us will do. We kind of ask God or Buddha, the universe, the Tao, just some kind of a sign to show us that things are going to be okay. And that night I went out and there was one of the biggest displays of northern lights I'd seen. And as we're all prone to do, I took that quite personally. That here my prayer had been answered, that I'd been shown that things were going to be all right. And I've come to think of it differently now. All of those natural miracles, shooting stars, northern lights, rainbows. Now, the story of the rainbow in the Bible is that it was a sign from God, a promise that God would never flood the world as he'd done. But sometimes I feel differently about these, that they're not any kind of a promise or anything. All these things we see or just a reminder, not that things are going to be okay, but that things are very much okay right now. Profoundly okay. As a member of this group sometimes says. And I have to say, I think part of that is having done mindfulness for a long time, that I can just see and appreciate things without wanting to have them prove anything from me or take anything. It's just pausing with my attention to see all those miracles that are missed. As a kid who had to have a telescope when I was 8 years old, I'm always someone that looks up when I'm out at night, looks for the moon, looks to see if their stars are shining. And I sometimes think, well, there are people that just don't care much about that. And they go through life without ever looking up at the stars. And there's so many things that we don't look for or pay attention to. And think of how much we're missing. And it begins as we practice here with just, first of all, paying attention to the breath. Our breath coming in as our belly rises and leaving as our belly falls. Choosing to look at that and choosing to put our attention there. That we begin to let our attention expand a little bit. So that we begin seeing things that maybe we wouldn't see. Some small violets in the forest on the edge of the path. Strange cricket in the grass. Birds in the trees. Owls calling in the night. This world is just filled with so many miracles. And it's as though there's no shortage of them. Once I was driving south of the cities, and it was just the time of year when all the pumpkins were getting ready. Hadn't been harvested yet to sell in pumpkin stands. And there were these fields just filled with pumpkins as far as you could see. And partly I was just struck by not just how beautiful pumpkins are, but how funny they are. These big, round, orange things growing on the ground. And it struck me that this world, again, if you want to call it Great Spirit or God, the universe, it doesn't hold anything back. It's always filled with these miracles. Just like that field is always filled with pumpkins as far as the eye can see. And we just need to pay attention to it. And we work that muscle of attention through the breath initially, breathing in and breathing out. And as we pay attention, and as we pay attention to our attention, we begin to see all the things we're missing because we're not looking down in the ground or up into the sky. Instead, we're giving all our attention to our problems, whether it's fear for the politics of the day, worry about getting older and health problems, worrying about loved ones. And first of all, I was certainly one of those. We think worry prepares us for something, that we're ready. When something bad happens, we've thought it through over and over again. One thing that changed my thoughts on that was just a brief little sentence I read once that said, worry is not preparation. And we talk often how this alert but restful state we can find through focusing our attention, through being still, looking and listening, taking in all that's coming in through our bodies, that we begin to see, first of all, how much time we're worrying about things that we don't know if they'll ever happen. Spending all that time worrying. And one thing we learn too is that this state of relaxed alertness can really be the very best state to be in. If you're going to meet a challenge or if something difficult is going to happen, you'll find you're able to respond much more quickly. Kind of from out of your heart or your gut so much as your thoughts, that you've thought this through a million times and have planned and rehearsed how you're going to respond. Instead, you can respond just with what's needed. And as I say, the other thing we begin to realize is that we're missing so much, and we spend so much of our time focusing on worries, negative incidents, negative feelings. And as it's been said, whatever we pay attention to becomes our life. If we're worrying about those things all the time, it feels as though it's been a difficult life where all we ever did was worry. Or instead, if we relax, be open, pay attention, we begin to see all those miracles. Just the very breath that we pay attention to is a miracle. We breathe in this air and we take oxygen from it, breathe out carbon dioxide that we give to the plants, so that we're taking and giving in the same action. Or just the fact that the moon is rising, and it's new and it's a slight sliver of light. We see a ladybug landing on a railing outside, just pausing to look. Another one of those orange things that always makes me laugh. That we can find those things that are miracles, or those things that just make us laugh a little bit. They might be just slightly absurd. And all it takes is letting go of the worries, first of all, and just opening to what's around us. This earth, this very life. Yes, there are difficulties to it sometimes. But if you just pay attention, you'll see so many beauties and so many miracles. And sometimes it takes redefining what a miracle is. It doesn't have to be something like a bolt of lightning, northern lights. It can be all those small miracles. Finding a four-leaf clover, the sound of a baby crying, a cardinal singing. All of those things are just wonders. If we begin to slow down or even stop long enough, pay attention and hear them, begin to be amazed at all the things we miss. And we'll begin to notice that how we look at life changes. It's as though there's this wonderful fragrance that's filling life and actually filling our mind and heart with that amazement and gratitude. So see what it's like this week to just keep your eyes open for those wonders and miracles. And continue stopping, breathing, and putting your attention on things that are happening, not on things that might happen. And see what you find. I'm going to strike the bell once. Take 3 deep breaths to end, and then open your eyes.